Artlist.io.
Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it now, I can't afford to wait. I just had a fan hit me up from Kuwait. Told him this would happen and we not a minute late. Seen him down bad, now they tryna hate. Same one try to hit me for the raise. Got a mail, now they coming with a blaze.
Music licensing reimagined.
I'm a don just like the Perrier. It's one time when I'm looking at a face. On the low like I'm pushing up the bass. Told him come down and I'll meet him at a gate. Got a check and I bought myself a place. They get some money and they blow it on bait. I don't flex but I'm pushing all the weight. Told them all I swear I got it's what it takes. Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it now, I can't afford to wait.
Hello and hello, happy Friday. Good morning to everyone over there and everyone coming from DIY Semi's channel. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to talk credit with him today. But first off, let's talk with Jared here to see how his week went. We're kind of quiet. We didn't go live Wednesday. That's okay. Yeah. We were kind of working through some updates on our big shipper update here. But how has your week been overall?
Yeah, it's honestly, I've been kind of in this mode where I've kept my head down. I don't want to read in the headlines. I don't want to read all this shit. And here's what's probably been the most interesting thing about the week, man, is I work with a group of people that are brokers that go out and try to grind all week. And I got to give it up for these guys, man. They don't care what the damn friggin' news says. They're just going out to make their future. Yeah. And I love that. And I know things are hard. I get all that right now. But boy, I tell you what, it's been a fun week. We've been having great conversations with people, deeper conversations with shippers, because I think shippers are starting to know that it may get a little bit weird here. Yeah. When it flips back over, I think shippers are going to realize that all of a sudden they got to have some good carriers. They got to have some good brokers. Yeah. So I think shippers are starting to come around, in my personal opinion.
That's fair. That's fair. So, Adam, how you doing, man? What are you thinking on your end? What's going on?
Good. Yeah, like I was saying to you guys, I'm a little bit older. Jared, I think you're close to my age.
Yeah, you and I are the same.
Remember when we were younger, we didn't have 24-hour news stations, right? The TV went off the air at 10 o'clock at night, and then with the Gulf War, we got CNN, and now we're 24-hour news, and they have to sensationalize the news 24 hours a day to get people to watch. And I kind of feel like some of the trucking news outlets right now are doing that because they have whole schedules to fill. They have multiple videos a day they have to fill. They got articles they have to write every single day. And you can easily get caught up in the doom and gloom cycle. And at a certain point, you got to push yourself away and say, am I running a business here? Am I intending to be in business, or I'm going to let these guys talk me out of my business, right?
Yeah.
And everything's bad. You just got to say, you know what? This is what I do, and I'm going to go do it. If it's bad, well, I'll deal with that. And, it's the business that you're in. You're in trucking. You got to go trucking, right?
Yeah.
Rates are low, but yeah, you're still in trucking. Or you're not. One of the two. You're in or you're not.
Yeah, a couple things, and this would be interesting to ask you. Obviously, you're in the trenches. There's not really another way. And I talk to a lot of different brokers and carriers, and we say, okay, well, where are you getting your freight, and what are some of the risks that you're having with your company? And a lot of the times, these carriers that are just coming into the mix or possibly kind of COVID sort of in the mix. I'm like, well, where do you guys get your freight at? And a lot of them keep saying the same thing. I get them from the load boards. I don't have any direct shippers. When you're out there as a carrier, Adam, what is it that's working when you're picking up the phone and doing what you do?
Assets rule right now.
Yeah.
In trucking, and hey, I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and bash brokers. I'm not that guy. I have relationships with them. We need them. We need them. They need us. It's a partnership.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of shippers, I feel like we had a conversation with one yesterday. We missed their RFP, but we're going to get on it next time. But they're like, we're pushing out the brokers. We bought out this company. We inherited a lot of brokers. We're pushing them out, and we're going asset. Also, because a lot of the fraud that's going on right now, the less number of people you can involve in the transaction, the less likely you are to get defrauded. And they realize, hey, they don't don't believe the turn is coming, and they're more willing to listen about building a relationship now and preparing for that turnaround. But I haven't yet talked to one that believes it's going to happen anytime very soon.
No, I don't think a lot of people are thinking it's next week or next month. It's this is we're in the later parts of the year at this point, and we talked to an extremely large one of my favorite calls this week. They were actually doing an exploratory call. It was with a carrier, doing an exploratory call, kind of like you said. We just missed the bid, but we had an opportunity to talk about the market. And it was interesting to hear him say kind of the same thing you just did. Hey, I'm working on assets. I've gotten burned, 3 times in the last 6 months on double brokering situations. They lost a load, which was kind of crazy because they did electronics. And I'm like, yeah, you can only have so many friggin' TVs in a trailer without it getting stolen. But it was definitely just an interesting conversation with that shipper to talk through those things with what you're saying. Even they're not expecting it to turn, but they know it will turn at some point, and it's going to be,
Quick shout out for eCarrierCheck. So somebody very close to me had a load of L'Oreal makeup stolen 3 days ago, and I got the details on it, and they said they checked carrier 411, everything looked good. So yesterday I went on eCarrierCheck and I pulled up this carrier. It's not good. they have 4 or 5 different companies shut down, and it shows on there where they changed their phone number, their email, their address, all the VoIP in the last 3 months. That didn't show on carrier 411. So that got me to looking into my information. I emailed you, Nate. But, so if you had been using eCarrierCheck, you would have caught that.
Yeah. I think that was honestly one of the biggest updates we've done from a fraudulent aspect is that we're now showing. This is huge because now the risk radar is up to 100%, right? And it reds out when you're looking at these carriers that are calling off load boards. But boy, I tell you what, there are so many. I saw this on Reddit. I got lost on Reddit. This guy was just looking for anybody that had an inspection that wanted to sell his trucking company. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I got on this weird path and I was just commenting and kind of being a snake. And I was like, man, but this is probably the biggest update for eCarrierCheck when it comes to fraudulent stuff.
Well, the nice thing too, I feel like every day there's a new scam. I talked with Yeah, right. So we're trying to keep up with that crap. And like, I had a few brokers who are like, "What the heck is a VoIP?" I'm like, "Well, listen here. Here's what they're doing, how they're doing it." And they're like, "Well, I'm so glad you guys show that. I'm glad that helped." And that's huge. Yeah, Charles.
Yep. It's a new scam every day, and it's hard to keep up with. So everybody says to me, Adam, why are you still using this ridiculous Yahoo email for your business and get your own domain name and all this and that? You can't change right now. If you change your information on FMCSA, if you change your address, your phone number, your email, anything, brokers you've been dealing with for 20 years will blacklist you for 6 to 9 months. And not do business with you because they think it's fraud. So you have to. Anybody thinking about changing anything on your safer information other than your MCS 150 regular updates, be very cautious about that, or you could find yourself tomorrow not being able to book a load.
Yeah, everyone's kind of on the edge. We're all walking on eggshells right now, it seems like. And
anything the FMCSA is doing is cathartic and ridiculous. It's going to make the problem worse. Oh, let's get rid of MC number. That's another identifier, and streamline this situation. Take away the 21-day waiting period so that we don't have time to vet anybody and we have no public comment period. That's going to streamline the fraud process. Is what it's going to do.
Go well, yeah. Jeez,
I'll be able to blow through chameleon carriers faster than they can, shake a corn bucket.
I haven't heard that one. I love
it. We're from the corn state.
Yeah, how have I not heard that?
What is going on right now? Goodness. I love that. Adam, how many people are you talking to right now that are just getting into the market? We constantly are hearing people I know the numbers are down. I always see the numbers. eCarrierCheck shows them. Whether it's a negative amount of carriers coming into the market or positive. How many carriers are you seeing come in right now or that are reaching out to you because your influence, things like that?
I have 2 new guys starting in the next couple of weeks. They'll be new owner operators. And I have a long conversation with them. I tell them, listen, it's bad right now. You got to know this. I can't save you. There's things that are out of my control. if you're willing to work through it, I think we'll come out better for it on the other side. But as far as new authorities, you'd have to have a screw loose to start a new authority in this market. If you're intending to book your freight off the load boards spot market, you're going to have a really hard time doing business. Yet the people are still pouring in, and
Yeah.
you can think about me what you want or make this any way you want to, but when you're bringing 10 to 20,000 refugees into this country every month that need a job and aren't required to, have a special skill or to even speak the language anymore, what are you going to do? You're going to put them to work in trucking when, it's a environment that's already familiar to them with their culture. If they're Ukrainians, they can go to Chicago and go to work for any Ukrainian company, like that, probably being brought on as a low wage as a legalized slave, but they're going to put them to work. They can take care of their family. So there's a lot of things like that we're competing against right now.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff. In fact, I'm kind of excited because we have a special guest on. She comes on once a month and just brings the house. You've never met each other, so we're going to you through YouTube. You guys can verbally shake hands here.
Awesome.
But Adam meets Samantha. Samantha meet Adam.
Well,
Samantha Jones is in the house. We'll bring her on
Welcome.
right now.
Good morning.
pleased to meet you.
And Adam, she is Samantha brings the house. She talks about economy. She talks about sales. So we're going to bring everybody's audience here. We got a lot going on with a lot of people on here today. Samantha, how the hell are you?
I'm doing good, guys. I love virtually meeting people too. So nice to meet you.
Yeah,
I was listening a little bit there backstage to the conversation and enjoying it and enjoying the comments too today.
Excellent.
Yeah. Obviously, Samantha, you just went to TIA. I'm sure you have something to talk about other than this, but how was TIA? What was kind of the hot topics, and what was just something that kind of some key things that you brought back from it?
Yeah, so TIA is obviously a conference focused on brokers. So kind of hearing what brokers are considering, what's top of mind. I actually kind of found it shocking how many brokers attended, given that there's no opportunity for them to find shipper business there. And this has obviously been a tough market environment. So there was obviously some money spent to still focus on networking and trying to grow, just learning more about the industry, which is encouraging, right? That's more probably had a room full of your more responsible players in the industry show up there. Definitely investment in technology is big for them right now. Fraud obviously remains part of the conversation too, which to your gentleman's point just here a second ago, that's why it's even harder now too for these new carriers with this new authority to even get access to broker freight, because they're really going to continue to get more and more strict on what tools they're using and vetting carriers with. And so it's going to be harder and harder to get that elusive green check mark, that we all kind of say is out there in factoring systems and broker systems. So I would say that kind of sums that up. I'm also attending the Broker Carrier Summit in Kansas City that starts next week. So that'll be a fun mix of smaller brokers and carriers coming to meet each other and collaborate. So I'm really looking forward to that one too.
That's awesome. Obviously we have a large carrier mix on today, which I'm excited about. From their side of things, Samantha, what do you see that they can be doing to kind of just keep riding the wave, if you will?
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking about this a little bit. I know my sales tips can sometimes be for broader audiences, so I did want to kind of dial it in today for more of our smaller fleet guys. I've actually had 2 clients recently. One had 15 trucks and one has about 25, and so we're working through some things. But even thinking smaller than that, I've helped guys with 1 truck, 3 trucks, just kind of trying to get their information out there. If you are in a truck, if you are driving, you don't have time to sell. Like, let's be honest. Like, it's very difficult. You're trying to do it from your phone. You're trying to do something like that. Like, if you're interested, message me. I recommend a web-based sales application that I think if you pay monthly, it's $99 a month, but it can automate 90% of your sales outreach and make sure you're still hitting 50 to 100 outreaches a day after you invest, several hours of your time, or work with my team to invest those hours to create it for you. To get something up and going. So that's one of the things that I think is always first in my mind is you have to recognize you don't have the time to do sales if you're stuck behind a wheel. So how are you going to still make an effort, but do it as efficiently as possible? And then the other thing is maybe you have a few trucks. And so maybe you've been able to get yourself into more of a managerial role or an office role. The same thing still applies though, right? Like you don't have 4 hours of your day to be selling. And so same thing, still lean into that technology. You're going to be able to do it a little bit better. You're going to be able to customize it a little bit more, put a little bit more thought into it. But I saw a post today on LinkedIn that kind of wanted to guide my other part of this tip today. And it was a shipper who actually started leaning into LinkedIn probably, I would say 4 months ago, and started getting really vocal on like, hey, here's how you can sell better. Here's how we approach relationships. And it was really encouraging, like to see a shipper leaning into this side of the industry. And then he made a post today and he was like, I'm done. Like I'm getting off LinkedIn because you guys have ruined it for me. Because since I put myself out there, I get 200 calls a day. You guys have my personal cell, my wife's personal cell. Like, I mean, it's just been unreal. Like he's getting harassed at this point by people selling. So I think in the smaller carrier broker training space, because I've heard some of the materials that could put out there, we really like to push this like cold calls, pound phones, like call until you get through type of idea. And maybe that worked before like email was as big, video was as big, LinkedIn was as big, like all of these other platforms existed. It was just phones. You were literally just like fighting for phone space to see if you could get through off the busy signal. And I think that's where a lot of this originated. But now my lawn guy's here too. Sorry if you guys can hear my lawn. Now my thought is like, hey, it's disrespectful at this point. And now we have cell phones out there. People are getting calls to their personal cells on Sundays. Like, I don't know who's bringing all this, like who's telling you that this is how you need to get business, but there are better ways to do it. And I don't hate on phone calls, but I advocate for a platform like the one I recommend that's going to schedule it for you. So you don't have to think, when did I call this person last? And we can space it out every 7 to 14, maybe 20 some days. Like, and you're trying it at different times and different days. So you're going to call them every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Guys, it's probably not going to work if they didn't answer the first 2 times. So just trying to be more efficient with what you're doing to get through to people. And it's not easy. Like we talk about that all the time on the show. We always say like, this sounds like pretty straightforward, but it is hard. It is a hustle. But we need to work a little bit smarter, not harder, and be respectful of people's boundaries too. Because I think we just sometimes, there's a lot of desperation out there right now. There's a lot of people who really want some business and you feel like one more call, one more this, and I'm going to like break through something. But if it was the 100th call I received that day and I picked up the phone, you're probably not going to want to be on the phone with me. Like I probably So I think like we have to figure out better ways to connect with our audiences, right? And there's some really cool platforms that'll help smaller companies that are limited on resources do that at a better scale where they can still be more like thoughtful and intentional. And that's a big part of what I preach. One last thing, at TIA, the same thing goes for brokers. At TIA, there was an awesome panel of experts talking about how you can improve sales, how you can improve this and outreach. And like, I loved everything they were saying, but the platforms that they recommended run anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 a year. And I was like, what? Like, do we not realize like the fragmentation of like how many small providers that we have like in this space, and like these people need cost-effective and affordable solutions. And so that's kind of where my passion and my heart lies. That's why this is a great fit for me to come on here. It's trying to help, these smaller entrants, these new entrants. Like I want a 1-truck fleet to be 100 trucks one day. I want them to be there, but like until you're there, you don't have the budget of a 20 truck or a 50 truck or a 100 truck fleet. So how are we still selling effectively within our means?
I love that.
Brought the house.
Yeah, I love that.
I love it.
Samantha, we appreciate you popping on. You're always you always got some knowledge. How do people find you, Samantha? Where do we catch up with you at?
I spend way too much time on LinkedIn. So find me on LinkedIn at Samantha Jones. Meet me for coffee is my tagline there on my profile. I have a podcast also that goes every other Tuesday, usually talking about freight market conditions and economics. So trying to help you guys all navigate what the heck's going on with volumes and rates and capacity and things like that, so you can make better decisions. And if anyone happens to want to pop into Kansas City for the Broker Carrier Summit, they have last minute registrations still open. It's next week. It's pretty laid back. They'll actually have truck parking at the hotel set aside, so you can literally drive your semis right up to the hotel and walk on in. We'd love to have you guys there. It's for carriers who want to learn and grow and also find brokers. The brokers that are there to intentionally say, hey, we care about partnerships with carriers. We want to be more effective with helping you guys get onto some of our freight lanes. So it would be awesome if anybody wants to come to Kansas City. That's my backyard. I live in Kansas City, so I'll be here.
I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it. Samantha, thank you for being on today. We really appreciate it. It's great to see you.
Yes.
We'll catch up with you next month.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Man, she hit it on the head there, right? You know,
Can I elaborate quickly on a couple of things she said?
yeah, please do.
To her point about, it's really hard to do sales when you're behind the wheel and you're a small company. You can't do sales for 4 to 5 hours a day. If you can't do sales by yourself, the broker is your salesperson. That's
Yeah.
what a broker does. So, develop that relationship with find that one broker that could possibly, you can get brokers to do sales just for you as an agent. Develop you a lane. They're great sales. That's what they do, is sales. They're your sales when you can't be your sales.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But a lot of people miss that point. If you could do your own sales, then you don't need a broker.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think too, like, I saw a couple comments in here. I know you guys have really good comments, and some of the comments are really quite funny. I love your crowd. DIY.
Yeah.
Well, they're playing nice today.
He brings the house.
He brings the house. But you can scam on any social media, right? There's scamming's done everywhere. And
Oh
anyhow.
my
I got
gosh.
scammed. I had Qdoba account got scammed last week. Boy, that was a hot mess.
Yeah,
I love
that
Qdoba.
was a rough day.
But I think there's a way that you can find there's a way to build a relationship
Oh,
through
yeah.
that social media.
Yeah.
Maybe record yourself, send it to a broker, and maybe that broker will give it back to you,
Mhm.
right? I think obviously there are people that are scamming. They're a piece of craps, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you're willing to ruin someone's company, I'm not a fan. But
yeah.
there's a way to get around it. Put yourself out there. I've linked up with this carrier on LinkedIn, and he literally has a picture of his truck on his background on LinkedIn, and he talks about all the shipments he did that week. He's posting pictures. He's talking about how hard it was, how he's
Mhm.
strapped. I'm like, there's a way to put yourself out there and build that trust. So it's there. I understand people are crappy and they like to scam, but if you have a gut feeling you're about to get scammed, walk away.
Yeah. Just you gotta move
You
on.
have to,
You
yeah.
gotta move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I'm kind of curious to glean from you, Adam, here. And this has come up a couple different times in the show. Obviously, we want to ask you about credit and your thoughts and
Yes.
opinion on it. But something that I found really interesting, I met a guy the other day.
Mhm.
He may be watching, so if he is, I hope he is. He is the best 4-year no inspection carrier I've ever met in my life. Never got an inspection.
I know a
One
lot of
truck-
people like that.
Yeah,
Truth.
one truck. And this cat's just, I mean, he's just kind of trying to give me an inspection, because all of a sudden now, is he getting freight? Well, yeah, he wouldn't be 4 years in if he wasn't, right? But how does somebody get a friggin' inspection? Or is there a part of the country that that George is going to get an inspection because he's an asshole up here? What do those carriers do that don't have inspections?
I mean, all you can do is go in and ask for one. And I'm not a fan of that. I mean, that's like going to State Patrol and say, I was speeding, please take me. If you ask the wrong guy, he's gonna be, yeah, let's get her done, and he'll find 15 things wrong with you. I mean, you can find something wrong with a brand new truck off the assembly line if you look hard enough. You don't want that. If you're ever sitting somewhere and you see a state patrol or a sheriff or whoever, go over and ask, hey, can I get an inspection, or do you have a friend that can do an inspection for me? Just be polite about it. Try to feel out who you're talking to before you submit yourself to that. But it can be, I know people that have been trying to get an inspection for months and
Yep.
can't get it. I don't for the life of me understand why. I think they know if you come in asking for an inspection, you got your stuff together and they're not going to get anything out of you. Right. I mean, California's good for being hard asses on inspections. Different states, hell, stop down in Janesville, Wisconsin. They love to put you through the ringer if you ask for it. There's different places. If I was going to go ask for one, I would pick a weigh station without the inspection barn. So if he's got to lay out there and going to be trying to spend all day out there looking at your stuff, right? If he's rather in the comfort of an enclosed building and can have a pit to go under your equipment and spend all day under there looking for stuff, I'd pick my battle on that one. Or hell, just wind her up and go down the road at 90 miles an hour. You'll get yourself one.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
my
that's
God.
fair.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I feel terrible for these guys. Like, I mean, this guy's 4 years in,
No.
nothing.
And you
Nothing.
know, I understand why they want inspections. I completely. It's if you don't have inspections, you might not have equipment. It's a way to verify you have that equipment registered to your company, right? And there's a lot more to that. Some experiences I've had lately. But if you look at a guy that's been there 4 years, he has references. Chances are he just looks good going down the road. His equipment is clean, it's well maintained, and they probably he's not speeding, he's not swerving, he's not tailgating. He's probably a good driver that doesn't throw any red flags when he rolls through a way to look at that. But um, in today's day and age, you got to err on the side of caution. So you got to go with the inspections. But and you can look at these inspections where the VIN number goes on the inspection. Well, I had a guy get hit a few weeks ago on my way to the truck show, and the truck that hit him was registered to 3 different companies. So then, what do you do with that? Right?
Mhm.
They're blowing through chameleon companies faster than they can shut them down and get caught.
Oh yeah.
So it's it's fraud everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't
nothing
matter.
that the CSA is doing is going to help. It's going to streamline the fraud process. Is what it's just going to streamline the process for the fraudsters is what you're doing here. It's not going to help anything. You're causing bigger problems. But
Yeah. Sure.
I wanted to point something out quick about the TIA, and I hope nobody here has a relationship with them. But the $100,000 for the membership to help you develop sales leads, is that what the program that they were pushing at the TIA?
I'm assuming they're
What
talking
Samantha
about
said.
getting Zoom info. A lot of people are on Zoom info, which is anywhere from 15 to 20,000 a month.
But that was that a service that TIA was offering?
No, it was
Oh,
probably
okay.
that's more so like it's just a third party leads platform that a lot of people use.
Okay.
Which I don't know
I
how they can afford it.
I question TIA anymore and what the standards are to be a member. Ever since Surge Transportation has been allowed to keep their TIA membership after not paying carriers $12 million and continuing to not pay carriers and cause a whole bunch of problems for a lot of people. I don't put a lot of stock in the TIA logo anymore. What is their real standard? You know what I mean? I certainly wouldn't pay them $100,000 for something if they were selling it after the few hundred I pay to be a member. We got take the good with the bad. They do good things too.
Yeah, they. I think as any association, the hope would be is that they represent their community in the government aspect, and I think that's what they do somewhat well. I mean, I know they were kind of the big component of pushing when it came to the dispatchers needing to get, a license or, getting at least the brokers, aspect to kind of push into there. And I know they really fought in that.
For me to be a member and use their logo should mean something about me, that they value me enough to let me use their logo and as my on my documents.
Yeah.
And if we're not going to put some standards on that, what does it all mean in the end, right?
Right.
But anyway, I off topic.
Yeah,
sometimes I just can't let things go.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, some of those panels, Nate and I went to TIA last year, and got a lot from those panels. And we see so many different people. Obviously, eCarrierCheck's a leads platform. We're proud of the different shipper leads that we have in our tool, our platform. But boy, I tell you what, some of the other leads platforms are so expensive. I just, you just don't know how they pay for them in some particular cases. So
I gotta give it to you. Your guys is really good. eCarrierCheck. Anybody that isn't using it, it's for brokers and carriers.
Oh yeah,
get it. What I like to do is go look up different trucking companies and learn about my competition and see what their safety ratings are like. Because if I make a sales call, I have a fantastic safety rating, and I'm not afraid to push it. And then too, the prospecting tools, like we've been using it, been trying to push this on people to sign up. If you're a
Yeah.
broker, you especially got to have it. It's better than 411, and
Oh,
it's going to be way better than 411. I know you guys are always improving it. It should become the new standard.
I hope so. That's the goal. So here's the question of the day, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this. You know, we get a lot of carriers, we get a lot of brokers that are just getting started.
Okay.
Whether they're jumping into this industry at a good time or not, they're jumping in whether they're here or not. You know, credit is something that is just challenging,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of get that blue check mark on the load boards, whether you're a broker and posting up a load, or you're a carrier and putting your truck on there. You get the credit score check, right? You know, this guy pays his bills this time, or this guy doesn't have any credit, right? Where does this all fall in line? How do people actually build credit? Where does the factoring company come into play? Because you get a lot of this, you get a lot of people that, like, if you're a broker, I've seen new brokers factoring their loads, right? So they're calling their shippers. The shippers are sending checks to the factoring company, which is a little confusing in some particular cases. Man, I tell you what, trying to build a company, this has got to be the hardest thing to do, right? And you can sell all you want, but if you don't have credit,
Well,
what do we do?
there's two sides of this, and my outlook on it is probably way different than everybody else's you're going to talk to. All right, now you just brought up a different side of it. You know, I wasn't sure what you were talking about today, but the functional side of it, of getting that blue check mark, right, or building credit as a brokerage, right? But I still think you can do that separate from this other part. And the part I'm talking about is, watch a lot of YouTube videos from truckers, people getting started out, and before they even get the truck, before they're even getting started, they're worried about building their business credit. And you know what? Forget about it. Screw it. You number one, you don't need it. Number two, it's probably not good for you. And number three, well, it's not even in the top 5 things starting off you need to worry about. Okay. And this comes from my experience of doing it this way, and it's been fantastic. And I wouldn't go back and do it any other way. When you're building a business, it can be hard to get started. You need a little bit of capital. If you're starting from zero and trying to 100% borrow everything, you're going to have a tough row to hoe. It don't matter credit, what kind of credit it is. You're behind the gun. $100,000. You're on payments on everything. You're mortgaged out. Business credit or personal credit, it don't matter. You're deeply in debt. Okay.
Yeah.
So the number one thing I would tell people is, don't worry so much about your credit. Worry about building a profitable business. Because you know what? When I go to the bank, I don't know what my business credit is. Don't care. Couldn't matter less to me. Because you know what? I focused on building a profitable business. When I go to the bank and say, I need a line of credit, I need a loan, I need a truck loan, the first thing they look at is not even my credit. The first thing, like, okay, I want to see your tax returns and your profit and loss statement. You know what they really like to see when you go for a loan? A business that makes a crap ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
A business that can pay a loan back. You're profitable. You can pay yourself. The business stands on its own 2 feet. Rather than, they want you to use credit as a tool, not a reliance to keep your business open. Sometimes it can come to that, right? And if you focus on running a profitable business, an efficient business, building relationships, the credit will come on its own. It's going to take care of itself.
Yeah.
Because if you're running a good business, you're not going to have a bunch of derogatories right off the bat, which is a big part of credit. You're going to pay everybody. You're going to just develop small credit lines along the way. You're going to have a fuel card. You're going to probably have a tire account with somebody. You might have a charge account with a local shop. All these things are going to serve you well, because most of them are going to report. Okay. Now, if you're starting off, I have a dear friend that's starting off, and their primary concern is building their business credit. So what did they do? They went out and got a truck loan, paying 3% interest more than they could have paid just getting a regular truck loan, right? Because they had to have it as business credit. So you're spending more money. You're getting tangled up in loans that most of them are probably not good for you. I'm not a big fan of SBA loans. There's a lot of strings attached, and I've seen some people really get hurt by them. Okay. Try to discharge an SBA loan in bankruptcy. See how your life works out. It's not easy. Whereas if you can get lower interest, lower payments, That money goes to your bottom line in your business. You pay your loans off faster. The credit will come by running a great business. The credit will come. The credit will be there. So, there's at least 5 things that are more important. I'm not saying credit's not important. And true business credit with no personal guarantee is one of the biggest fallacies. I have a friend that runs a $300 million trucking company. And when he goes to borrow money, he's still on the hook personally. Like, that loan might be in your business name. You tell you are super big, a real big company. Somebody is still on the hook for that. They're going to come after you personally. So at that point, you got to grow into it.
Yeah.
True business credit is something you grow into over a long period of time. It's not something to worry about on startup. Startup, you got to worry out the best terms you can get. Lowest interest rate, lowest cost of borrowing that money, because you're on the hook for it personally anyway. So you got to grow into that. Now, with getting the blue check mark as a broker, stuff like that, these things will also come with doing business. Like, you got to be in the game, stay in the game to be in the game, right? And that's tough. If you're starting off month 1 and you have $100,000 line of credit and an 800 credit score, guess what? You're not getting that blue check mark as a brokerage anyway.
Yeah.
You got to turn some revenue, right? You got to turn hundreds of $1,000s a month over a period of time to get that blue check mark. And then what it takes is calling Triumph and saying, hey, can you extend me? I've been in business 6 months. I've been in business a year. Can you extend me even $1,000 line of credit? Approve me for $1,000. Then when a company runs you for $3,000, it's not going to come up rejected. It's going to come up review, right? Because they're gonna grow your credit line over time. Relationships. You're going to build relationships with these companies, and when you call them, you're going to provide them all this information, provide them references, rather than just have to have them look at your FICO score or your Dun and Bradstreet number to see, right? You're going to provide them proof. Hey, here's my profit and loss statement and my tax return for last year that shows on dollars. Do you think you could give me a $2,500 credit line? That's going to get it done in 6 months. Not having a 750 credit score, right? And it's better for your business, because guess what? You didn't go deeply in debt to build an 800 credit score. You can be debt free and have all this credit. Whereas if you're working to build an 800 credit score, the only way you're doing that is debt. You're way better off to do it as building a profitable business that makes a bunch of money. If I go into my bank, all I have to do is ask for what I need, and they usually offer me way more than what I ask for. I couldn't tell you what my credit score is. I really don't care. I want that loan at, as close to market rate as possible. I don't want you marking it up. I have some rental properties. You pay significantly higher mortgage interest rate on a rental property than you do an owner occupied. It's the same with a business loan versus, you can call it personal loan, you can call it whatever, a line of credit. You're going to pay more. And that comes out of your bottom line. Brings down your profit at the end of the year. Just for the sake of saying, I built business credit, that you're still on the hook for personally.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so easy to get lost in this credit talk too. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
As someone that has dealt with that too, it's like, okay, where do I begin? And it's so easy to fall back and not, everything that you said, I wish I knew years ago, right? So I hope that anyone watching or thinking about getting into this industry, rewatch what everything Adam just had to say, because that's going to help pretty much save your ass.
Yeah.
It just takes time. I think you shouldn't rush into anything. If you're not sure, you need to talk with an expert like DIY Semi.
Yeah.
The number one thing is build a profitable business that can stand on its own 2 feet.
I like that.
And you can pay yourself. You're not feeding it every month. I've seen people go out and borrow money solely for the purpose of building their credit score. They don't need the money. I hate to say building a house of cards, but you're not building a house with a wide, strong foundation, right? When you build a skyscraper, we all forget that there's as much concrete underground as there is above ground, right? They built a giant, strong foundation, and that's what you want to do for your business. I'm telling you, the rest will take care of itself. It really will, because people come into a bank with an 800 credit score that are stretched so thin they can't make the payment to borrow money back. And you're coming in with an insanely profitable business with very little to no debt or debt to equity ratio. You're guaranteed. You're a shoe-in.
Yeah.
They love to loan money to people. You know who banks like to loan money to? People who don't need it. They don't like to loan money to people that need it because they probably can't pay it back or they're going to struggle.
I love that comment.
They love to give money to people who don't need it.
So good.
Yep.
That is so good. I tell you what, you really hit it on the head. I mean, anytime you're just focused on it just takes time. But if you can focus on a profitable business, I think back of a lot of the conversations we have with brokers, with carriers, and they're like, nobody's hiring me because I don't have any credit.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing is what I'm saying, and not to say that it's not important to have credit.
Right.
Because they're going to screw you on your car insurance. Nobody can do manual underwriting anymore. It's all stupid FICO score, right? So your car insurance, your whatever, all this stuff associated with it, which is nonsense as far as I'm concerned. So it is important, but it's like if you're starting a brokerage and you started your brokerage today, and by next Friday you had 17 customers and you're going to pull 100 loads a week. Most people would think that was a successful brokerage, but you got to move those loads.
Yeah.
You got to have carriers to go with it, right?
Track.
So it's slow, measured progress over time. Like I'm in a situation right now where I could grow quickly. Trucks and freight. It scares me to death. But I'm in a position I could do it. So it's got to be slowly.
Yeah.
Businesses that are built quickly typically don't last.
Mm.
I've worked hard to build relationships, and I'm gonna tell you that has been more important than anything. If I get a bad truck that breaks down, I can fix it. But man, I can't repair a relationship a lot of times, right? With anybody. And that's a banker, an insurance salesman, a customer, a truck dealer. It's those relationships it's more valuable than credit. It's more valuable than money. It's as valuable as the equipment you have. And that's something you don't really learn until you get into this other side of it. The best way to learn these things, unfortunately, for most people, is skin in the game.
Yeah.
Get yourself into where you got some skin in the game, and you're going to start to see how important these other things are. And too, when you're in debt, trying to build credit, certain point you lose control of your decision making. Somebody else is going to have some input into that decision making for you. And if you want to run your business the way you want it to be run, you need to be not subservient to anybody. You need to be the one that's allowed to make that decision without a bank's approval or somebody else's approval.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot that goes with it.
Yeah.
Also.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think this is truly helpful because, like Jared said, we talk to a lot of carriers, man, and you're a blessing to us because you have so much knowledge on brokering and the carrier side, but you just come from it a different angle as well, and it's good to see kind of where you're. Yeah, you get
most of the information you're going to get is going to be exact opposite of that. I completely get it.
Yeah,
I 100% get it because that's what we're taught. It's how to do things, and I'm not sitting here to say that it's not important, but I don't think it's even top 5.
Yeah.
And can you do it the other way? Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. But if you're trying to build a solid foundation over time and really build something, you got to lay the foundation. You got to go slowly. Right.
I agree.
Yeah, because you can skyrocket and get yourself in trouble real quick.
A case in point is during COVID when rates were sky high, right? How many carriers did you pop up there? All of a sudden, they're 50 trucks, 100 trucks because the rates were there. They didn't build any kind of foundation to get, financing lined up, to build a relationship with a truck dealer, insurance company. Insurance rates were out of bounds because they had to be with Progressive. Everything. They didn't build a shipper network base. It was all broker freight. And now you see day after day in freight waves. Oh, they started in 2020, 2021, and now they're going out of business.
Yeah.
You see it every day in freight waves, 20, 40, 60 trucks.
Yeah. Yeah, the great freight recession, as they like to call it.
And it is true, but 90% of the people missed the opportunity during COVID. It wasn't $7 a mile freight. It was the opportunity to have people talk to you that never otherwise would have given you the time of day. It was
Yeah.
the first real time in history when a carrier with 2 trucks, 3, 4, 5 trucks could go to a decent sized shipper and say, "Hey, how about I start hauling freight from you?" That was the opportunity during COVID.
Mhm.
It wasn't the rates. And the people I think that did it that way are going to probably be okay, or they'll outlast their counterparts significantly longer.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
proud to say that we did some of that. You know, we're still experiencing some pain. Don't get me wrong; it's very tough times right now.
Yeah.
But we're relying on those relationships we built during those times, and I intend to be fully loyal to them after these times. You know, when things turn around, I'm not going to go chasing that hot spot market freight. Should it come up again, we're going to stay right here where we're at.
I love that. Very proactive, man. I definitely love that.
I do too.
Adam, I can't thank you enough, man. The value that you bring.
Incredible.
Well,
Incredible.
thank you guys for letting me come on and spout my nonsense.
Hey, anytime you want, and I'm hoping we get back on your channel soon.
Yeah.
But I love it,
Yeah.
man. I'm gonna rewatch this show again because there's a couple credit parts in there that I really want to hear again. The reason why, because like I said, I got carriers that talk to you every day that come to us with these questions, and you taught me a little something today as well. So I appreciate that. Everyone, welcome that's in the show today. Thank you for being here. Tons of great questions.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
Adam, your community brings the house, man. I love it.
They are great. They are good.
Great people. Jared, close us out, man. I know we got to go do some recording here in a bit, but close us out.
Adam, again, like Nate said, thank you for being on. Really enjoyed it. Check out his channel, DIY, incredible channel. So much value. Honestly, your battery thing, I got to tell you, I watched this video again the other day, and it just changed it. I love the battery show. It was like ridiculous. But either way, thank you for being on.
Thank
Everyone watching, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Drive safe, and we'll chat later.